The creature was dying when Emma found it. She almost didn't see it at all. It had dragged itself beneath the collapsed overhang of the old ridge trail, half buried in mud and pine needles, its massive body curled inward like something trying to disappear. Emma had been hiking the back country alone, which John had told her no fewer than 7 times was a terrible idea, when her boot caught on what she thought was a root. It wasn't a root. It was a claw, black as obsidian, longer than her forearm, attached to something so large that her brain initially refused to process the scale of it. She stumbled back. Her hand found a tree. She breathed. The creature did not move. Its flank rose and fell in shallow, uneven intervals. Each exhale rattled like gravel in a tin can. One of its 6 limbs was bent wrong, catastrophically wrong, and the plating along its back had cracked in several places, seeping something dark and luminescent that stained the dirt beneath it like spilled moonlight. Emma stood there for a full minute. Then she said, quietly, to no one in particular, "Okay." She called John from the trailhead. "I need the big first aid kit," she said. "The one you keep in the truck for emergencies." Emma. John knew her voice. He knew the specific tone she was using right now, the one that meant she had already made a decision and was only informing him as a courtesy. "What did you find?" "Something hurt." "Is it a bear?" "No. A wolf." "John." "Emma, I swear to God. It's not from here," she said. "I need the kit. I need the bolt cutters, and I need you to not freak out." He brought the kit. He brought the bolt cutters. He stood at the edge of the tree line and looked at the creature, really looked at it, for a long time without speaking. Then he said, very carefully, "That is not from here." "I know. That is not from anywhere near here." "John." He put down the bag. "What do you need me to do?" That was the thing about John. He asked the right question. It took 3 days. The creature, Emma began thinking of it as day, after the low, resonant sound it made when it was in pain, was not built like anything terrestrial. Its biology defied most of what she knew, which admittedly wasn't veterinary science. But she had grown up on a farm and had pulled calves and set broken legs and sat through enough suffering to know what dying looked like versus what fighting to live looked like. Day was fighting. She cleaned the wounds with saline first, because she didn't know what else to use, and it seemed like the least harmful option. When the creature flinched, she talked to it. Low and steady, the same tone she used with frightened horses. "I'm not going to hurt you more than you're already hurt. I'm trying to help. I know you don't understand me. That's okay. Stay with me." John brought food. He wasn't sure what to bring, so he brought everything. Raw meat, fish, eggs, things he'd read that apex predators might eat, and laid them out carefully a few feet from Day's head, then retreated to give the creature space. He started keeping a log. Measurements, behaviors, what made Day flinch versus what seemed to bring relief. He cross-referenced it obsessively, the way he did with everything that mattered to him. By the end of the 2nd day, Day had stopped making the gravel rattle sound. By the end of the 3rd, it raised its head and looked at Emma directly for the first time. Its eyes were not like animal eyes. They were structured, layered, 2 mini irises, pupils that moved independently of each other. They tracked her with an intelligence that was unmistakably deliberate. Emma looked back. "Hi," she said. Day made a sound like distant thunder. It healed faster than it should have. John documented this too, in his log, with increasing amazement. The fractured limb knit itself over 4 days. The cracked plating began to regenerate from the inside, pushing out the broken pieces the way a fingernail pushes out a splinter. The luminescent fluid stopped seeping. Day ate enormous quantities, methodically, watching Emma the entire time. She got used to being watched. She talked constantly. About the farm. About John. About the specific qualities of a good tomato and the frustrating unpredictability of late frost. She had no idea how much Day understood, but the creature's posture changed when she spoke. Something in the set of its shoulders, the tilt of its massive head. It was listening. It was processing. On the 8th day, Day stood up for the first time. It was enormous. Emma had understood this intellectually, but standing, fully upright, all 6 limbs properly arranged, Day was something else entirely. The trees around it seemed smaller. The sky seemed closer. It looked down at Emma. Emma looked up. "You're doing great," she said. The signal came 3 weeks later. Emma was in the kitchen when every electronic device in the house went dark, then came back on, then went dark again. and a sound filled the air that wasn't quite sound, more of a pressure, a vibration that she felt in her teeth and her sternum. Day, who had been resting in the south field, stood up. John came in from the porch. "Emma, I feel it. They're looking for it." For Day, she had already known this was coming. She had thought about it. She had made peace with it in the quiet way she made peace with hard things, not by pretending they didn't hurt, but by deciding what mattered more. She walked out to the south field. Day turned to look at her. In the weeks since the Ridge Trail, something had changed in the creature's eyes. Not just intelligence, but recognition. Specificity. It knew her face. It knew her voice. It knew the particular sound of her footsteps. "I think your people are here," Emma said. The vibration intensified. Above the tree line, light moved in ways that light shouldn't. Day made a sound Emma had never heard before. Not the thunder sound, not the pain rattle, not the low resonance of communication. Something older, something that made the grass around them tremble. Emma put her hand on Day's plating. "Go," she said. "You're okay now. You can go." They came anyway. 3 of them, the following morning. Same plating, same scale, the same way of taking up more space than the air could comfortably hold. They landed in the south field and stood in a configuration that John, watching from the porch, described later as military formation. Emma walked out to meet them. John followed, 2 steps behind. He had the log tucked under his arm. He was not sure what compelled him to bring it. He brought it anyway. The 3 creatures looked at her. Emma looked back. She was good at that. Then Day came around the side of the barn. What followed was something Emma didn't have the language to fully describe. A conversation conducted in vibrations and light, in the subtle positioning of limbs and the modulation of sounds below human hearing. It lasted 11 minutes. She timed it. At the end, the 3 newcomers looked at Emma again. Their posture had changed. One of them lowered its head. Then all 3 did. Emma didn't know what it meant exactly, but she understood enough. They left before noon. Day was last. It stood at the edge of the field, where the grass gave way to the wild brush, where the ridge trail began, and looked back at Emma for a long moment. She raised her hand. Day made the thunder sound, once, clean and clear. Then it was gone. John stood beside her in the sudden quiet. After a while he said, "You know they're going to come back." "I know. And whatever's out there, whatever they are, whatever they do out there among the stars, they're going to remember." Emma thought about Day's eyes, the intelligence in them, the precision of attention. The way a creature built to dominate the food chain of an alien world had let her clean its wounds and talk to it about tomatoes. "Good," she said. She meant it. Because that was the thing about humans that the universe kept learning, one first contact at a time. They would cross any distance to help something suffering, without asking if it was safe, without waiting to know if it deserved it. They would kneel in the mud next to something terrifying and say okay and mean it. And the creatures that remembered, the ones who had felt human hands and heard human voices in their worst moments, they scorched worlds for that. They moved fleets for that. They held the species that had shown them inexplicable, unreasonable kindness under a protection that had no name in any Earth language. Emma didn't know any of this yet. But somewhere above the clouds, in the infrared dark between stars, something vast and ancient and dangerous had updated its understanding of the small blue world it was leaving behind. And it had marked it, safe. Do not touch. Not yours. Ours.